I'm Wayne Visser, Director of CSR International, and I'm here today with Simon Harvey, who's CEO of the Natural Step of New Zealand. Welcome.
Hi.
Would you kick us off by giving us an indication of some of the progressive companies in New Zealand that are actually using the Natural Step as a strategic framework and how they're doing that?
Yeah, sure. The Natural Step in New Zealand has been through a bit of a period of evolution, really, and recently we've stepped things up and been looking really to find those sorts of organisations that really suits. What we've actually found here is that local government has probably been the biggest adopter of that type of strategic, overarching approach to sustainability because, firstly, it reflects the legislation over here, which is that Local Government Act requires local authorities to take a strategic approach to sustainable development. And of course we have good legislation in the Resource Management Act about the way we use and manage our resources. So for local government we found that they've actually taken the natural steps for system conditions which lay out a definition of sustainability and started to integrate that across not only the projects that they do but also at a corporate level in terms of the way they operate and how their role will be in the future, envisaging themselves in a sustainable society. So really local government's probably been the biggest success story for us in that area, and we've had a number, probably now 5 or 6 different local councils who have looked at embedding it, and that there's the amount of interest is growing all the time.
And what have you seen coming out of that in terms of different practice? Are there examples of things that this has changed their thinking on?
Yeah, absolutely. I think what it has done is it shifted people's perspective from this being less bad or incremental change to actually understanding what a definition of sustainability really is. And so it's broadened their horizon about the opportunities for action, beyond let's use less fuel, let's use less energy, let's do this, to more of a systems approach where they go, well, if we do this over here, then we don't actually need to use any energy at all. Or if we actually start to think about stop thinking about recycling and start thinking about where this waste is coming from further upstream, then we can actually avoid the costs of having to manage the waste once it's been produced. So it started actually a real step change, I think, in looking at a wider picture, looking at the bigger system and the ways to step into those systems at different places to cause different effects downstream and actually produce a more sustainable outcome overall.
Yeah. Now this is obviously taking place within the context of a New Zealand sort of movement for sustainability. What's been your view of where New Zealand is at on the sustainability agenda, particularly the companies?
I think there's a perspective in New Zealand by business that we're already pretty good. We have a reputation for being green and clean, and I think particularly the agricultural community feel that they have been good stewards of the land here. I think there are a number of reasons to actually start to question that and to see where practices could significantly improve. So I think it's really only now that business is starting to actually see that, hey, look, there's a lot of activity going on offshore. Are we actually as good as we think we are? And what we're trying to see, what we're really seeing now in the Natural Step is that as people wake up to sustainability and actually start to look into what it means, they're discovering that it's more than recycling, it's more than fuel efficiency, it's more than using a little bit less of this and a little bit less of that, to really more of a transformative model where actually the way we deliver this service to people could completely change. And so they're seeing the risks, I think, inherent in the current model. And we obviously encourage them to see those as well and say, well, hey, if a new entrant to this market comes in, delivers this service in a way that's totally sustainable, where does that leave you? Yeah. And so I think really looking at helping them understand what the risks are involved in the rapid and disruptive changes that could be coming is one way that's really getting the message across. Secondly, I think it's waking people up to see that how low we score in our participation in the low-carbon economy. I think some recent research showed that we're 57th in the world, behind countries like Morocco, Kazakhstan and Algeria. And that's not the sort of news that we want to hear for an innovative country. So I think, again, people are waking up to the fact that we possibly need to lift our game and understand the issue better so that we can respond better.
Now, what's been the role of government in this? Are they being progressive on this agenda? Are they supporting it? I know, for example, you've got an emissions trading scheme. I know that you've got a large renewables sector, and yet you're saying that it hasn't made quite the progress it needs to.
Yeah, there are two sides to the argument, and I think the government is certainly in a position where they can say, hey, look, we've done a lot here. We do have a good profile. We do have high renewables. We do have an emissions trading scheme. On the other hand, you have to also see, well, we have a brand that we need to protect, and just because we're doing well is no reason to actually hold back. So I think the government could do more. I think they could provide more incentives, and I think they could certainly show more leadership around the type of incentives, you know, the carrots and also the sticks to reward good behaviour. And my concern again is that, as in a number of countries, that the government possibly doesn't fully understand what sustainable development means in all of its facets, and they're still focusing on a gradual shift as opposed to seeing the opportunities for understanding the whole ball game of sustainable development. You know, not just environmentalism, but also the people side and the economic opportunities, and put in place some frameworks that would really facilitate accelerating performance in those areas.
So what does give you the most hope at the moment in the New Zealand context?
To be honest with you, I think probably the speed at which this is now gathering pace around the world, and I think that will put more pressure on us to participate and extract the benefit that we can. There's an initiative that started here recently by a group of very progressive business people, including the CEO of Air New Zealand, which is called clearly one of our biggest tourist operators, but a host of other very well-renowned business people, Philip Mills from Les Mills, which is a large international business as well based here. And they've basically gone to the government and said, look, we're missing a big opportunity. It's time to step up. It's time to capture the energy that some of the progressive businesses are offering, support them, spread the message, give people the training and tools that they need to do better, and capture the opportunity while the game's still early, because it gets so much harder to catch up. And we know that the Americans and the Chinese are working really hard to capture the clean tech opportunities, and the UK, of course, as well as other countries. And we need to be there, and that's part of our message is let's get in early and get as much leverage out of it as we can.
What's that initiative called?
It's called the 100% Initiative.
Okay, sounds excellent.
I'm pretty sure there's a website, www.100percentinitiative.co.nz.
Okay. Thanks for sharing your thoughts today.
Not at all, thank you.
Cheers.